Bienvenue sur Métal Maniaques, un balado d'horreur Québec où je, sous-signé Christophe G, m'entretiens avec des métalleux tripeux d'horreur. Métal Maniac, épisode 27, mesdames et messieurs, gros épisode ce mois-ci. Je veux commencer cet épisode-là en faisant un gros shout-out à Oli Pinard de Cattle Decapitation. 26 mai dernier, toute une performance au Club Soda, ça déménageait. Si vous étiez là, sérieux, ça rentrait au poste, c'était vraiment cool. Si vous n'étiez pas là, puis même si vous étiez là, allez voir les photos que j'ai postées sur le Facebook, la page Facebook de Métal Maniac. Il y en a des très cool. Je suis assez content. C'est vraiment le fun de pouvoir shooter cette band-là. Travis Ryan, le chanteur, toujours aussi photogénique. Oli Pinard aussi. Et toute la belle gang de Cattle qu'on va retourner voir, c'est clair, la prochaine fois qu'ils vont passer à Montréal. Ce mois-ci, euh, c'est une autre fois où j'invite quelqu'un du même band. C'est arrivé avec Anthrax, mais là, c'est le band Municipal Waste. Vous êtes au courant que je suis un gros fan de ce band-là. On reçoit Dave Witte, le drummer du band, que j'ai eu la chance de rencontrer à plusieurs reprises. On est comme devenus des potes. On est des fans de craft beer, on est des fans de films d'horreur, de métal évidemment, donc les atomes crochus. Donc, gros fun de parler avec lui encore une fois. Puis, j'ai invité nul autre que l'artiste derrière le visuel de la pochette du dernier Electrified Brains. Là, je suis en train de montrer ma paire de costumes de bain. Hey, ils ont fait des short costumes de bain. C'est-tu malade rien qu'un peu? Municipal Waste, short costume de bain avec le logo. Sérieux, avec une serviette aussi que je montre dans l'épisode. Une serviette de plage, c'est absolument débile. James Bousema, qui est l'artiste derrière cette pochette-là, vraiment un cool dude aussi. Donc, première fois que je le rencontrais virtuellement à travers Zoom. Puis, c'est un gars tu sais, qui m'a vraiment impressionné avec cette pochette-là, vraiment, vraiment trop cool, avec un dude que sa tête se fait exploser par une guitare. Mais le gars aussi, donc, il a travaillé avec plusieurs artistes métal, Soulfly, le band de Max Cavalera, ex-Sepultura, Frozen Soul, Spirit World aussi. Euh, il a travaillé avec Pull the Plug Patches, qui font des belles patchs métal pour mettre sur vos Battle Vest. Il a fait le tour poster de la tournée Creator Testament, le Clash of the Titans. À Montréal, en fait, Testament est remplacé par Sepultura. Ça s'appelle aussi le Clash of the Titans. Mais l'affiche, c'est l'affiche Creator Testament que James Bousema a fait. Puis je l'ai invité parce que je sais qu'il est fan de films d'horreur aussi, parce qu'il a mis en image, il a eu la chance de faire un poster officiel de Evil Dead 2 qui vient de sortir, qui est vraiment, vraiment très cool. Vous irez voir ça sur le web. Euh, Parlant de Sam Raimi, un poster pour Darkman également. Il a fait un design de T-shirt pour Night of the Living Dead de Romero, 68. Il a fait un poster hommage à Edgar Allan Poe. Il a fait des trucs pour des jeux vidéo, du fan art, Godzilla, Eraserhead, It, Halloween. Donc, un gros fan d'horreur. Donc, c'était vraiment un bonheur de pouvoir lui jaser. Donc, sans plus tarder, un spécial comme un spécial Municipal Waste, Electrified Brains, avec James Bousema et Dave Witte. James Bousema, right?
Yeah, no, you got it. First
Okay.
try. Man,
Yeah,
nice.
thank you.
People don't usually get it.
But
It's usually
I cheated.
Busma,
Yeah,
Busima, Bushima.
yeah.
It's never right, but you got
I
it, Bausma.
but you did a post, a little video post on your in Facebook page, so it helped me a little bit. Um, so hey, nice to meet you, man.
Good to
Th-
meet you too.
Thanks for taking in the time to chat about two of my favorite things in life, metal and horror. The
I mean, likewise, man. That
Yeah.
that that, that keeps me going every day. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And they go so well together, for us metalheads. it's part of the deal to be a fan of the dark things in life. But the fictitious things, because the dark stuff, the real stuff, it's depressing. But fiction, movies, records, it's the best. And when look I first led my eyes on that wonderful Electrified Brain album cover that you created for Municipal Waste, I was blown away, just like the guy on the cover. And they're always great at having great artists for their things that they produce. But for that record, you hit a home run. It's amazing, that thing, a beach towel, a swimsuit, man.
Man,
It's
you got all the
I
goodies.
know, I know. I'm a fan of those guys. I've been a fan for a while, and they're just great dude, and they do great trash metal. I was wondering, how did you discover that band in the first place?
I mean, they've been around for a while. I think they were part of like the early, like I want to say early, like what are they called? The aughts, like 2010s, where like it was a slight thrash
Hmm.
revival
That's
that was
right.
going on. And I remember hearing Art of Partying, like
Hmm.
everybody else, and just like recognizing how fun these guys were.
Exactly.
And then so I always liked that. I think I remember hearing it through like it must have been like a guitar or metal magazine compilation
Okay.
that I got.
Hmm.
Whether it was like Metal Hammer or anything like that, where it comes with a CD or
Hmm.
something. And I think the Art of Partying was on there somewhere,
Okay.
and that's how I discovered them. Then yeah, they've always been a lot of fun. They obviously have a fellow love for horror, practical effects, and all that
Hmm.
sort of stuff in their videos, and work with people in the industry on those videos. So it always like has a certain amount of quality to it that I think they've kept up over the years, and they certainly brought to um, their electrified brain title track video,
Oh
which
yeah,
yeah
yeah, directed by Norman Cabrera. It's amazing how they
yeah
they took that concept. I think that's Ryan Weiss that initially thought of the electrified brain, and the guitar through the head and all. But they did the video, and they just took your art and made it alive. That's amazing.
yeah no, like early on, they were telling me like, yeah, when once we finish this art, we know we want to do it into a video of some kind, and make a mask of that cover.
Hmm.
And I was just super psyched to whenever they decided to figure that out. And then once they started to record the video, and I saw some stills early on of what
Hmm.
they were doing, I was just, that's so many firsts happened with that record for me. That
Mm.
was my first like real big record cover,
Okay.
and that's definitely something that was basically the foot in the door for everything that I'm working on nowadays. And I'm so
Hmm.
happy that it was like with them. It was a cover I'm super proud of. Like I know lots of people really like that artwork, and I
Definitely.
know they love it a whole lot. And we made a bunch of different
I know
pieces on top of that to go with.
this.
Yeah, we put out a beer
Yeah, it's
with Ray
amazing.
Floyd's brewing. Uh, the jet ski Reaper on the beach towel in the back was for that
So much fun.
beer, and did a couple tour posters for them, did some merch for
Hmm.
them, and all of it was just wrapped around the album concept. So they definitely went all in on it,
Hmm.
and they kind of helped me figure out how to do a lot of this stuff, because I mean I before I started working with metal bands, I had just been like a regular uh uh
Freelance.
freelance, half like part-time job doing like shirt design and stuff.
Hmm.
So the shirt design job definitely helped me like build up the skills in order to work on this stuff, but actually working with bands and figuring out, okay, how do I make this stuff look cool and
Mm-hmm.
try to sell it to people like me who like
Mm-hmm.
wearing metal shirts. That's something that I hadn't quite tackled before, and it's just been a fun process of like doing it more and more because I tend to my standard work is very like painterly and detailed, but with the shirts, depending on the clients, it's usually very limited colors
Mm-hmm.
and
That's right.
a lot more flat and graphic.
Mm-hmm.
So figuring out how to translate my style to stuff like that.
Simplify and get
Yeah,
to the
yeah,
essence.
but it makes it kind of a nice like break
Challenge. Yeah.
a little bit because sometimes I with a painting you've got all the options in the world, and I stick to kind of what I like to see or whatever my particular style is. But when it comes to a shirt, it comes together a lot faster
Mm-hmm.
because of the limitations, and you can't just like put all the colors and all the detail into it. Um,
But you
so it,
definitely you fell on the right band to experiment because they're really out there out of the box when it comes to merch, and they're really involved also. I know Ryan is into the visual process of everything related to the band. So I was wondering uh, how how did it started? Did you reach out to the band? Did they call you? How did that begin?
I think it's hard to say because like all of this happened during 2020, so
Yeah.
everybody was kind of we were a lot of us were stuck at home trying to produce some work
Hmm.
in the meantime, and they reached out to me at some point that year, and I imagine it was probably a mix of some of my stuff getting around the internet,
Hmm.
and I had known somebody at Nuclear Blast who I'd
Okay.
been in contact over the
Cool.
years, was like, hey, you ever want to do a cover,
I'm there.
reach out, or yeah, likewise I told them like
Hmm.
if you need an artist, I'm here because
Hmm.
I'm a big metalhead and I'd love to start getting into this industry. But that had been a while before I'd really been in contact with them, and I guess it either that person or Tony or Ryan, like it might have been Tony that it initially
Okay.
saw my stuff and followed me. But it was mainly me and Ryan throughout the whole process, figuring out back and forth exactly how to make
Hmm.
that cover. And luckily, one of the upsides of the pandemic was we had a lot of time to just like sit on it and
Hmm.
perfect it.
Hmm.
And because we were working on this in 2020, the album came out 2022.
I know.
So they didn't love that, but it was just something that because of everything they just had to do.
Of
But
course.
that meant we had a lot of time to really really perfect it and get those details right. And I wasn't rushed in the process. Like I mean, even the art on the back with the
Hmm.
Reaper
Yeah.
and the stack of Marshalls on
It's
fire and
amazing.
everything. I'm not sure if I would have been able to like churn that out super fast if so I'm kind of glad we had that extra time to put a lot of love into it, and yeah, super happy with how
Yeah,
that all came
definitely.
out.
Kudos, man. Is great. And I was wondering, because I know the guys, as I said, Ryan is really involved. How much could you pitch ideas to Ryan? And did some of the designs came from you, or did he always had in mind that he wanted a scorpion-like cover with some like Iron Maiden ideas, colors and stuff?
Oh yeah, like we definitely were playing into our influences, and Ryan specifically has a real love for that era of artwork, and that's what they kind of wanted to really play into. And I also love that whole aesthetic and everything. I
Mhm.
really like personally, I really like album covers that if you're going with an illustrated cover, I like it to feel a little bit more tangible and look more like a traditional media
Mm-hmm.
instead of an overly digital look. Um, and me being a digital artist means that
Mm-hmm.
I tend to like try to really overcome the fact that I'm using Photoshop and try to treat the file the way I use colors, the brush textures that I use, treat them in a way to where like it looks
Like a
like a
painting.
traditional medium. Yeah.
Totally.
Um, so unfortunately, that means that as much as I would love to hand them over a
Yeah.
painting of that cover,
Mm-hmm.
the reason that it looks the way it does is because I could just go back and tinker with it
Mm-hmm.
easily, turn layers on and off, and really play around with exactly how we want it to look. So I'd say the overall aesthetic of the record is highly due to Ryan and the rest of the band's aesthetic preferences.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and I I think my job was trying to help them make that make whatever they had in their mind be there as much as possible. And sometimes with bands that means that you have to sacrifice like your own creative
Mm-hmm.
choices. But other times you have to, as an artist and as somebody who, like uh, professionally has aesthetic tastes, I guess you could
Mm-hmm.
say.
Mm-hmm.
There are times where you do want to tell them like, hey, I think this would look
Perhaps you,
better.
yeah, you should
Yeah,
try
yeah,
that.
yeah. Trust me. Let
Yeah.
me try this and show you at least.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I also prefer working digital because I can easily just be like, okay,
A mock-up.
here's
Yeah.
what I think would look good, and
Mm-hmm.
here's this. What do you think?
Mm-hmm.
And there are times where they're like, oh yeah, we totally agree with you. And then there's other times where they're like, no, we want to go this way.
Mm-hmm.
Luckily with uh, Ryan, it was super easy to just go back and forth and really iron out exactly what we wanted. Um, and yeah, I'm glad that we were able to work with each other really easily and communicate pretty clearly. Like, okay, I like this, don't like this, push
Mm-hmm.
this, um, because it's the first ideas are often they can sometimes be the best ideas because they're just coming from your gut and they just like immediately pop out with you. But then other times things just need to be really ironed out
Mm-hmm.
and made the best versions of themselves. So I think that this like even though the core of the idea, the guitar going through the guy's head was there at the very beginning, it was all about like making the best version of that
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
that made that cover work. And it seems to have gotten a lot of notice
Yeah.
from other bands, and I think people when you mention that cover, they're like, "Oh yeah, that one. I
Uh-huh.
know that
Uh-huh.
one." So it's fun.
Yeah.
I like that whenever like go to a record shop or I see people with a shirt of it, like I immediately know.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like it's an image that you can see from across the room.
Yeah.
But I think that's also due to me like working hours and hours and hours on it. And
Yeah.
anytime it's somewhere other than my computer screen, I can tell like, oh, what's that doing there? That
Yeah.
thing. Um,
But you said you're a big metalhead. So
oh yeah.
what came first, horror or metal in your life?
Um, Probably metal. Just because I think I remember
A
as a
little kid?
kid, like horror didn't attract me as much just
Okay.
because maybe I was a little scared of it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But with metal music, I think like as a somebody who's going around middle school, going into high school, like guitar oriented music,
Okay.
really started grabbing me.
Were you
And
a guitarist as well, or?
yeah, I play guitar too.
Okay.
Uh, yeah, I've got my guitars hanging behind me, but my room's a mess, so I'm
You
keeping
blurred it.
everything.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. It's like no, I'm ashamed. You guys can't see this.
But I
Um,
put a towel there, so
yeah,
it's
I need to get me one of those. Need to get me like four municipal waste like beach towels hang across
yeah.
here. Um, but
So
yeah,
what was
it
the
was
first band
definitely
that hooked you? Can you
As far
remember?
as metal, like
Yeah.
it wasn't necessarily like, I mean, I think Metallica is the best like gateway
Mm-hmm.
metal band. I probably heard like the Black Album first and
Mm-hmm.
really liked that. Um, and then found out there are other
You went
stuff,
back.
yeah, and then you realize, oh, this is a lot heavier. This is
Yeah.
a lot thrashier. And then
Mm-hmm.
through that, I feel like it's just you're done. You've been introduced to thrash.
Mm-hmm.
The whole world is open to you, and that's pretty much how it was for me. But
And
like,
a lot of people, they spit on the Black Album, but it was a gateway for a lot of people, and
yeah,
it still is. And
no, that's a good record.
Mhm,
Like I don't like listen to it nearly as much as the others, but
mhm,
there's songs on there that are like some of the heaviest stuff ever, and there's a
mhm,
reason why uh it just connects with so many people, is because I think at its base it's just really good songwriting.
totally.
So some of it maybe just a little a little too simplified
Yep.
for the kind of Metallica that I like,
Hmm.
but it's also still got that old Metallica energy to it.
Hmm.
Like
Hmm.
at the end of the day, they're just good songwriters. So I think that really showed
Yeah.
there.
But
And like
it's
personally,
probably,
like I
yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
well, I was just gonna say, like personally, I'm not an And Justice guy. Like
No? Okay.
I don't really love that album,
Okay.
mainly because of the production,
Yeah.
and I think some of those songs are just like
Too long?
3 minutes too long. Yeah, like it's just like they needed to be dialed back a little
Okay.
bit,
Okay.
because it was just getting a little indulgent, and a little bit like, okay, I feel like we're just, it sounds like they wrote 20 riffs and decided to
Oh,
put
yeah.
them all in one song,
Hmm.
and
Yeah. But they were like on the proggy side of things, they were really pushing the envelope, and
they
maybe
were,
but because
yeah.
I'm a big fan of that album, but as you said, the bass isn't anywhere, and it's
No,
sounds
and then the
weird.
drums sound
Yeah.
very mechanical,
Hmm. Hmm.
and then like the guitars also sound like sometimes a little programmed, because there's like zero reverb on anything.
Hmm.
So like everything sounds like
It's
very,
dry.
yeah, very dry. So like
Hmm.
it feels like there's no environment that they're
Hmm.
living in.
Hmm.
So which gives it kind of like this like overly mechanical sound to it, where it almost doesn't feel human. So
Yeah.
maybe that's what they were going for, because
Hmm.
their past records definitely sound different,
Yeah.
and they probably wanted to change things up. But I would love, like, I'm sure somebody's already done it,
Yeah. Yeah.
somebody do a Ride the
Remake.
Lightning era production on Injustice for All, and I'm all for it.
Yeah,
Like,
definitely.
give me that.
I would love
uh,
to hear that. And but going back on the Black Album, it's probably the worst album cover that they ever put out. There's in it nothing at all on that. It's black, a little snake, and we had a lot of great covers from that band. So I was wondering which album covers that first did a big impression on you when you were young. We talked about Maiden a little bit, but there's many more.
oh yeah, I mean, the Maiden's probably like the biggest. um
Derek Riggs
it
is the best.
it's like those albums get you because of the covers,
Yeah,
and then you listen to the music, and whether you like it or not, but like they like you can't listen, like think of the records without that art.
exactly. Eddie,
um
the mascot. It's
yeah.
they were inventing things at that time. It was amazing.
But other than Derek Riggs' work, I was always a huge fan of Necrolords, or Christian Wallen, I think is his name. He's done just so much stuff over the years.
Okay,
The main one that I can think of is Black Dahlia Murders Nocturnal, and then he
okay.
did Nightbringers for them as well. He did Emperor at the
Oh,
Gates.
hmm.
Just like that, there's so many that he's done that are like just classics. That's at this point he's got a style
Okay,
that people go to, usually very monochromatic.
okay,
And his work I just always appreciated, because it's like a slightly different version of Dan Seagrave's stuff,
okay.
where I think Necrolords is a little bit more intentionally flat,
Hmm.
but more as like a stylistic choice, as opposed to like somebody not getting how to do perspective or atmosphere or anything.
Dancy Grave,
Like
he did the Morbid Angel and Dancy
yeah,
Grave. That's right. Okay, that's the
that's
guy.
Dan
Yeah, yeah,
Seagrave. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. He's done just like a million amazing covers over the
Hmm.
years. So
Hmm.
he's also super influential. So like I'd say those two, and there's so many. Wes Ben Scotter
Oh yeah,
has
of
done
course.
amazing stuff over the
Even the
years.
latest cattle decapitation one, it's
Yeah, my
awesome.
favorite of his for them is probably a Death Atlas. I love that cover so
Yeah,
much.
yeah, yeah.
And his stuff with Autopsy is amazing. Um, and there's just there's other covers that are done by like some bands take like old paintings and they'll
Hmm.
make those their covers. I always really loved um Bathory's Blood Fire Death.
Okay.
It's like can't remember the name of the artist, but I've got the painting hanging up in our living room.
Oh yeah,
But I think it's
the
like
original.
no,
Okay.
it's like old, like 100, 200 years old painting,
Oh,
but
okay, okay.
it's of
A print.
the Wild Hunt.
Oh,
So it's like
okay.
Odin's Wild Hunt. It's
Oh,
Norse
nice.
mythology themed. It's amazing. I remember that cover really attracted me, and I love the colors. I love the subject matter. I was really into Norse mythology in high school, so stuff like that I would just glamour on to. Same with
Hmm.
anything Tolkien related. So bands like Summoning, I'd get really into,
Okay.
or things like Blind Guardian, or
Okay.
like
Really
that, and a
epic
lot of
stuff.
yeah. I think like that's that kind of stuff I got really into when I was in high school, and I remember 3 Inches of Blood was a
Okay.
big
Oh yeah.
Advance and Vanquish was a cover I loved and an album I loved. Um, but all those are like super influential, but my stuff doesn't really look like
No,
any of
that's
theirs.
right. That's right. Which is a good thing.
Well, yeah, I think like it maybe looks like somebody who grew up with those things and
Hmm.
is maybe taking elements of those things and seeing where I think like any artist will like kind of like we all steal from everybody
Of course.
because like nobody can have like 100%
No.
original ideas all the time.
But
So
the
it's
key
a
is
matter of
blending stuff
taking
together. Exactly.
yeah like say I'd look at a Necrolord piece and be like, oh, this is how he does a castle. Well, I don't want to do that, but I basically want to figure out how to do a castle. This is
Hmm.
how he does, the beams going up. This is how he does a gargoyle. This is how
Hmm.
he contrasts the building with the background.
Hmm.
It's all just kind of
Inspiring.
visual homework, I would
Mm.
say.
Okay. Yeah,
Like I
yeah.
almost view it as like problem solving, where if a piece isn't working, I might go and look at other people's pieces and be like, okay, like the maybe the if I zoom out, the character isn't popping off of the background all that well.
Hmm.
Why
Hmm.
isn't this working? And then I'll look up covers similar to maybe what I'm working on and see like, oh, okay, so they're
Hmm.
doing
I
this,
should
they're doing
highlight.
this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, how could
Hmm.
I try to utilize that in my work to really make it the best version of itself? But
It's a
that's
great
how you do
process.
it, and
Hmm.
yeah, it's not through a um direct like okay, I'll just do that. It's more about figuring out how to use the elements of whatever your painting is made of in order to maximize the effectiveness of it,
Yeah.
especially as an album cover, in
Yeah, because
which
it's the entry point for
yeah,
anybody. That's the first thing you see before even hearing the music. So it's key.
yeah, and like I'm sure you've also like maybe you've gone to shows and maybe seeing a band for the first time
Hmm.
and they played a great show, but you haven't bought the record yet. And so you're like, well, I just want to support these guys. So you'll maybe find like whatever's on their table.
Hmm.
And I know in the past, I've either bought the shirt that I like the most or the record cover I like the most, because I just want to support the band and I want something that looks cool. So it is our job as artists to like give those bands the stuff that helps that person at the merch table decide like, okay, that looks sick, let me get that. Or just there's always the thrill of being at the record store and just looking at the covers, but nowadays with so much streaming, like it's a little harder to do that. So I think part of it is also been taking that into consideration and thinking about how things look like when they're like this big
Oh
on
yeah,
your phone and
it's
you're
a
just
challenge.
flipping through
Yep.
Spotify or whatever and seeing like, oh, that looks cool, let me try it.
Yeah. Yeah, this one it works well with the big head.
Yeah.
You can see it really well. But I just want to talk about movies a little bit because
Sure.
it's all about horror as well. You did an amazing poster for Evil Dead 2,
Hell
which
yeah.
is pretty epic. And you were talking about epic stuff, fantasy, and it reminded me a little bit about the that trailer from Leatherface, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3. I don't know if you saw
Mhm.
that trailer back in the days. It's like Excalibur, through the water, with the big
Yes.
chainsaw, and your poster reminded me a little bit of that. But Evil Dead,
Was that for was that for the second one? Because
the
they were
third one,
parodying. Oh,
the
the
third one.
third one.
Yep, yep,
Okay, yeah.
yeah,
It was,
yeah, yeah,
the second one they parodied Breakfast Club.
yeah.
I think like
Yes, exactly. The cover.
in the
Yeah,
poster.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
It's amazing.
yeah.
There's a lot of humor in that franchise. It's one of my favorite franchise. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It's so weird and so fucked up. And the first one is so scary and intense and vile, and dusty, and it's one of my favorite. But Sam Raimi's is one of the best.
Oh
I've been a
yeah.
big fan forever. What's the first Sam Raimi film that you ever saw?
Oh, I mean, did the first Spider-Man, was that
Uh-huh.
that
The
must have been
the the
2001.
the three first Spider-Man was them. Was from him.
Well, I'm thinking like I think it was 2000, either 2001 or 2002,
Yeah, around that time.
when the first Spider-Man came out. I wouldn't be surprised if it might have been either that or The Quick and the Dead.
Oh
I,
yeah.
I, I might have seen
Okay.
first.
It's Western.
Because like I was saying, I didn't get into horror until later.
Uh-huh.
So, at the point of the first Spider-Man movie, I was either 11 or 12.
Hmm.
So it was probably shortly after that, once I get like maybe around 13, that I started getting a
Digging
little
back.
bit more into the horror genre.
Okay.
Um, and then, once I did, it was,
The rabbit
I
hole.
was suckered into it. Yeah, yeah. It's the same as metal music
Hmm.
because you basically find something that's a little darker than you're used to
Hmm.
and you like it and you
You
get
get hooked.
used to that. So that feels like the norm. So you eventually just seek out harder and darker things.
Yeah.
And then once you've gone to the extremes of whatever genre you're getting into, then you start to settle in and figure out like, okay, this is my sweet spot.
Yeah.
But Evil Dead 2 is like, if I had a top three
Yeah.
horror movies, that's probably number one.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I just love its mix of humor. It's like super old school, low budget filmmaking, but even at that lower budget, you can like all of Sam Raimi's personality comes through.
Mm. Yeah.
Like that, it just he can't help himself, but like the way he shoots things,
Exactly.
his
The
sense of humor,
angles. Yeah.
yeah, it's all there, and I feel like there's a reason why it's so many filmmakers like favorite movies, or just like movies that they love that got them into it, because
Hmm.
it's very inspiring to see a young filmmaker just like have their voice
Hmm.
so present at like such an early time in their career, and
Yeah.
then
Totally.
like through that, like you could totally watch Spider-Man 2,
Oh, the
see
second one. It's the best
yeah,
one.
yeah, and see the Doc Ock
Yeah. The
scene in the
operation.
hospital
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
be
Yeah.
like, that's Sam Raimi.
Evil Dead. Yeah.
Yeah, that is
Exactly.
Evil Dead right
Yeah.
there,
Yeah,
and
those
it's so
zooms.
cool.
And
Yeah,
it's-
like the super exaggerated, very comic booky
yeah,
style of
he
directing.
nailed it.
So
That was
yeah,
so great that he was able to do a Spider-Man. That was one of the first big superhero movies that was really well done. Of course,
oh
there
yeah,
were like Superman and Batman's, but you know, the CGI was at a level that we could see, Spider-Man the web sling, in downtown, and it was pretty cool. And those big fight sequences, and as you
oh
said,
yeah.
his style, for us horror hounds, was so cool to see those little tidbits of horror here and there. And even with Doctor Strange, the
Oh
sequel that
yeah.
he did, there's a lot of horror in it. It's probably the
Yeah.
more horrific Marvel movie ever made.
Yeah, I mean, I know there's definitely people who are big fans of like WandaVision and her arc through that
Hmm.
maybe aren't huge on Doctor Strange too,
Yeah,
but I don't know. I
whatever.
loved how evil she was in there and how
Yeah.
like crazed, and she still has her reasoning.
Hmm.
Um, but I love that Sam Raimi got to infuse a lot of his own kind of weird over the top horror stuff in there, and they
In
seem
those
to just let him do
blockbusters.
it.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
crazy because when you go back, he was, meant to do superhero movies. Darkman. You did a poster for Darkman, and
Yeah.
Darkman, that was kind of a superhero in a way, a really
Oh
weird
yeah.
one. Horrifically burned, but that was a hell of a film. You know.
Yeah, I and it's weird because so the reason that I did these both of these officially licensed posters,
Hmm.
Dark Man and Evil Dead 2, through the guys at Vice Press.
Okay.
And they just occasionally, give me whatever titles that they have licenses to, and be like,
Hmm.
hey, you want to tackle this? I did not expect both of them to be Sam Raimi movies,
Yeah,
but it
yeah.
ended up working out, and I'm a fan, and their subject matter's great and a lot of fun to play around with. Um, but it's it's interesting as a fan of a lot of these, like to try to
Revisit.
tackle a movie poster,
Hmm.
especially since a lot of these sort of properties have had illustrated movie posters done at the time and then just over the years. So it kind of forces you to like look through all those and see what's been done already.
Hmm.
And sometimes you'll come up with a really good idea and then look back and be like,
It's
somebody
been
already
done.
did it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But
And
the Darkman one with the fire, the fire variant is great because that's
thanks.
that's part of the character. He was burned, and it worked really well. And of course, Evil Dead. You put a chainsaw on the cover, and
Yeah.
it's amazing.
Well, it was definitely a tribute to like the poster on the first one with her like arm
Oh yeah,
reaching out.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Uh-huh.
So like shape wise,
Hmm.
say if you got that initial first movie poster and then you
Hmm.
got mine,
Yeah,
they'd play very
totally,
well off each
totally.
other.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But
But
time
yeah,
is running out. So
go
you
ahead.
you, you
Yeah.
told me in your top three horror movies, there will be Evil Dead 2. What's the other two?
Oh, I'd probably go with Robert Eggers' The Witch.
Oh,
I,
okay.
I think
Okay.
that's like one of the
It's
best
bold.
horror movies made in the
It's
past like
beautiful.
decade or so,
Okay.
and there's a reason why tons of people keep wanting to like just do that, but they
Mm-hmm.
don't quite do it right because he's got like such a appreciation for history and detail and
Mm-hmm.
a real great love of how people talk during the time.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it's super scary without showing
Yeah.
so much,
Subtle.
not
Yeah.
being it's not super in your face,
No.
but really eerie.
Yeah.
And then number three, it would be a Cronenberg movie.
Oh
So
man.
so like it's either The Fly or yeah, probably The Fly.
The Fly, man.
Yeah,
Totally.
yeah, because I think it's just like it's weird how that's one where there's a lot of body horror and everything, but
Mm-hmm.
it's also like really sad
Yeah,
And
it's
it's
a
really
tragic love
easy.
story.
Yeah, very tragic. I feel like that's one that you could probably show somebody who isn't super into horror and they'd get really, really
Mhm.
into it. Because like the gross stuff doesn't like it gradually
Yeah,
starts happening.
exactly.
And I feel like you by the time that it's getting really, really gross and really
Mhm.
effects heavy, like you're
You're
already
into the movie exactly with
you
those
feel bad for the
performances.
character.
Mhm.
And at that point it just gets like you're wondering how bad it
Mm.
gets.
Yeah,
Uh
you got Jeff Goldblum and Gina Davis. They're amazing. It's like a play in a way,
yeah,
and
I could
and
see it playing on like a stage.
yeah, and it's one of my favorites. It's a Canadian, of course, like me, so it's man Cronenberg. He's one of the best. Um, hey man, that was so fun. It passes too quickly. Half an hour is it's too short. We have to do that again sometimes.
If
Uh,
you
thank
want, I'm down, man.
Thanks again for the great work and those amazing clothes and I'm gonna be the best beach bum of the summer with your stuff. So keep up
Yeah,
the
I
good
need to get
work.
me one of those. Like I don't
Yeah,
have any beach towels, so I need
as
to message them and be like, "Hey, could you send me
exactly,
over one of those?" Like I like them.
totally.
I didn't expect it to go on a beach towel because it
You,
was
you,
made for the beer label, but
oh
it
yeah,
totally works.
but
Totally
you
works.
you deserve it. So ask those guys quickly and get one. Anyways, cheers, man. Thanks a lot, and keep up the good work. And I hope you get tons of work on amazing album covers in the coming future.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. It's been a lot of fun doing this sort of stuff. So thanks for taking the time to listen to me
No, no worries,
ramble
man.
on about stuff.
Cheers.
All
Take
right,
care.
have a good one, man.
So great to see you.
Yeah, it's great to see you. It's been too long.
Exactly. And I found a nice stout with a zombie on it and a devil in the back. It's
Oh,
a
sweet.
yeah, a breakfast stout, and he said it's a scary one. So it's just fitting.
Nice. Yeah, I got this porter from Burial, North
Oh,
Carolina.
that's nice. That's
Good
nice.
guys, good beer.
Okay, I never had any of the
Oh,
burial
see,
beers.
Robocat's trying to get out.
Nice.
Let him out right real
Of
quick.
course.
Yeah, buddy. Come on. Go ahead. Yep. See ya. There we go.
And of course, I choose a nice cozy to fit with the conversation as well.
It's a good one. What a great tour that was.
Yeah, definitely. The tour, the latest tour, the latest time you were in Montreal, that was with the great god of, I don't know if I can say grind, but it's dead metal, rock and roll, and there's so many things at once, Carcass. That's what is so great about them. It's a roller coaster, that career.
Yeah, the first night of that tour, everything came racing back to me how great they really are. Like the way they presented all the songs from the different eras, everything was amazing. They were so great every night. It was awesome.
And they seems like they're a great guy too. I think
Oh
you
yeah,
you,
they're
you
so
got
much fun
along
to
with
be
them.
around. Yeah, the whole tour was great. It was amazing. Everybody on
Yes,
the tour was great.
Sacred Reich, and it was such a great package.
Yeah,
And
Creeping Death, good dudes.
yeah, so you're lucky. You always have good bands with you on tour. So
We are lucky. Yeah, it's nice. I love touring with bands I actually want to see every night. It's awesome.
yeah, definitely. It's you're a music lover first. So I guess usually I go with that question. What came first, horror or metal in your life?
Probably metal and horror close second. But I guess it's intertwined because I
Mhm.
watched horror movies with my parents growing up. And actually, when I was getting into music, there was this guy that lived down the block named Eddie Kiernan.
Okay.
He was older than me, and he was like, "Hey, Dave, you want to go to the movies?" And so we walked like 2.5 miles. Yeah, maybe it was like 5 or 6 miles. This is long ago to
Mhm.
see heavy metal
Oh,
in the
the
movie theater.
cartoon. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I didn't know
Wow.
anything about it. I was young, and he took me, and it's a great experience. It's like one of the ones I remember the most.
the music, the visuals, and it's so diversified, the type of animations,
Yeah,
and it's so weird also at the same time, but it's mind-boggling. Black Sabbath, there's so many great songs in it.
yeah, it was great. Something I'll never forget.
How
I
old
guess
were
it
you?
just launched my love for everything. Oh man, I don't remember. I was pretty young.
Like 10 or so?
Like I probably shouldn't have walked 5, 6 miles without telling my parents back then. You
Can, can
know?
you can you remember the very first horror movie that you saw that you weren't supposed to and you got scared like for a week?
Well, I probably, all the Friday the 13th, there were some of the earliest, some Salem's Lot,
Hmm.
stuff like that. But I think the one that I loved that scared me the most, and I still think about how it scared me, was The Howling.
Oh man, it's one of the scariest for me as well. I was 6, and I got scared for a week. I couldn't sleep. I don't remember why exactly because it's kind of a comedy as well. Got scary
Yeah,
bits, transformations, and all, but it was so well done.
yeah, it really was. And then when you're younger, everything's scarier, everything looks cooler.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so that was one that I really really scared me when I was young.
And you told me you had a friend that worked in a theater and you were kind of lucky to go through the back entrance and you got to see
Yeah,
like
what's up,
movie like
yeah, what's up, Basket
Basket
Case?
Case.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And then, by that time, I was well into playing music, and we had formed Human Remains
Mm.
for our love for Clive Barker, Hellraiser, and Human Remains is a story in the Books of Blood.
Oh, okay, I didn't
I
know.
think Tapping the Vein. There's a comic for it too,
Yeah.
and Nightbreed had come out, so we went to see Nightbreed like 5 nights in a row in the movie theater. Our friend would sneak us in the back.
Wow. I remember, reading Fangoria back then and just seeing the picture before seeing the movie. And, so many monsters in that film.
Yeah, the Berserkers.
It's crazy.
I need to go back and watch it. And it was such a cool movie because we were so head over heels about Clive Barker back then.
Mm.
Because we based everything off Clive Barker. And the one thing I remember it was really funny is our friend Sam, who's has passed now for quite a few years. Real great guy. He was amazing. He's the reason we got into all those movies. He snuck us in the back, and he was always like, "Whatever you do, don't go up to the snack bar because if you get caught, you get kicked out. I'll get in trouble." And we're like, "All right, we're gonna go one night." We went one night anyway because that's the stuff you do when you're
Of
younger.
course.
So we're standing in line, like nervous, trying to not get caught, and it was all the Human Remains guys. And Steve bought this gigantic bag of Skittles, and I'm looking at it. I was like, "Steve, man, are you gonna eat all those?" And he looks at me and he goes, "I'm not gonna eat one of them. Just watch." And I'm like, "Okay." And then it was one of those old movie theaters where it was like kind of like stadium seating, and it was like cement slab.
Okay.
And like during a quiet party, he opened them up and dumped them on the floor. It was like a rain stick. It was so loud, and the whole theater went crazy. It was really funny.
That's a good one. Um, but you started early, being in bands. What
Mhm.
what was the ignition of your passion for loud music? What was that first record that just blew your mind?
Probably, I mean, my aunt got. I guess my aunt bought me my first two music cassettes. They were Men at Work and The Pretenders, Greatest Hits. My
Hmm.
aunt was cool and hip. She got me, and then my dad loved Grace Slick and Joan Baez and Bob Marley, The Doors, and he got me into stuff like that.
Okay.
But I found the heavier stuff on my own,
True Friends.
yeah, through friends, and I think someone had bought me an AC/DC cassette, and like AC/DC is where it all really started for me. And
Yeah.
I just kept finding out about stuff, and as I
And AC/DC, they were one of the founders of metal.
they're still my favorite band.
Oh yeah? of
Oh
all
yeah.
times.
Yep.
I never got a chance to see them live. I passed on it last time they came in town. It was at a big, the huge stadium, the Olympic Stadium in Montreal, and it's renowned for sounding like every band that goes there sounds like shit. So I didn't want to see AC/DC in that venue, but you know, we don't know the future of that band right now.
Right. Yeah. I
So,
got my fingers crossed that they're going to play one more time because Brian's probably 75 or 76 at this point.
mhm.
And I have a understanding with Bruce Lamont that we're gonna try and go twice.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so one time we get really drunk and just rock out, and another time we'll really remember it.
Because you never saw them live
Oh, I
before?
saw them. They were my
Oh,
first big concert when I was a kid.
oh, wow. First
Yeah,
concert.
yeah, the Fly on the Wall. For the longest time, I thought it was the for those about the rock tour, but it wasn't. Because I found the ticket or I looked it up or something like that, and it was the Fly on the Wall tour, and then Yngwie Malmsteen's Rising Force opened up.
Not bad.
And big cannons and like it was amazing. It blew my mind. It was so that really, that's a great place in my memory.
And you were like 10, 12?
Yeah, something like that.
Okay.
I remember. Maybe a little bit older.
You're luckier than me because one of my first concert I attended was Samantha Fox.
Oh, really?
Wasn't really rocking, but that was pretty entertaining. I was like 8.
Right.
But I think also there's a story about you finding a tape in
Hmm.
the street. What was on that tape?
The cassette.
Hmm.
It was a Maxell cassette with a gold label, and it had a red rubber band and $4 bills wrapped around it. So I went down to on my BMX. So I was like being to BMX before I committed to drumming
Okay.
to meet my crew, and I found the cassette and I picked it up and Metallica Kill 'Em All was on one side and Merciful Fate Don't Break the Oath was on the other side.
That's a great find with plus
It
four
was amazing.
bucks,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we didn't have money back then, so I was psyched on the money.
of
Then I
course.
brought the tape home. I'm like, wow, this is amazing. I love Metallica. And then Merciful Fate was spooky. It kind of scared me a little bit.
Hmm.
And my mom came in and told me to shut it off because it was too creepy.
Because King Diamond, that's synonym of creepy. It took a while for me to get into the music because of the voice. Uh, it's kind of hard to get into it, but once you accept it, it's amazing because
That's
he got.
amazing. That album's incredible.
I saw him last year in concert in Montreal, and that was so great with the big, stage show and
Yeah, and the big intro, like, I got goosebumps. All my hair stood up.
yeah.
I like when they went into the first song. I remember going, yeah, like my team had won the Super Bowl. I was so psyched. It was great.
Oh man, because such bands like King Diamond, it's all about the horror, and it goes back, Black
Mhm.
Sabbath was named after a horror movie, so there's so many things that connect, those two universe, and you guys, you're great at having great album covers with exploding skulls and all.
Yeah,
It's so much fun, to have that aspect of the dark stuff, but mixed with the funniest. That's a funny thing. A guitar going through a net like that.
yeah, it's awesome. Reminds me of the early days where well, they still make some good horror movies where there's a little bit of comedy intertwined where you can't help but laugh, like the
Yeah.
Hatchet movies. The Hatchet movies are hilarious. They're
Oh,
amazing.
yeah. When I first saw the first one, I think was in a festival in Montreal, and that scene with that kind of old lady.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's so incredible. I laughed so hard it blew my mind the first time I saw that.
Because we know it's just for the fun of it. It's not
Yeah,
it's not scary.
it's so over the top.
Yeah, but I like to get scared, but nowadays it's kind of hard to scare me. Last time I guess was probably don't breathe. Don't breathe. I got stressed out.
Yeah,
Have
I
you
haven't
seen
seen
that?
that. Let me add that to the list. See, this is another reason I'm excited to do this because I feel like I've fallen behind on things, or I'm a little out of the know.
But it's harder when we get older because we like to revisit old stuff. I'm the same. I sometimes I prefer to watch the Texas Chainsaw Massacre for the 20th time instead of watching
So
a new
classic.
movie. Yeah.
Yeah. It's really hard to nail that creepiness and like stripped down barbaric version of horror today.
Yeah.
Because you've seen everything so far.
Yeah, but
Kind of
sometimes
desensitized.
Yeah, but sometimes we get surprised, like guys like Ty West with X and Pearl. Man, that was so great
Yeah, I
because
don't know
he.
that either. You're gonna have to send me a
No?
list.
Okay, because X, it was really inspired by Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It's about
Oh, okay. Yeah, I didn't see that. I remember seeing the flyers for it, the advertisement.
you really have to see it because I know you're a Texas Chainsaw Massacre fan, but there's no chainsaw, but it's in Texas. It's in '79, and
Yeah.
it's about a bunch of people that they rent a barn to shoot a porn
Oh,
movie.
you know, porno. Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, I didn't see that, but I saw the ad for it.
And so
It's fun.
that's all I'm gonna say. But
Yeah.
it's great. It's so much fun. It's not too overblown, too much gore, but it's all about there's some creepy stuff as well. And
Right.
then they announced right when they launched the movie, they announced that they shot the prequel already.
Oh wow. Damn.
That was pretty bold, and the prequel is set in the 20s, 1920s.
Really?
So it's a period piece, but it's much more violent.
So
And
what's the name of that one? Do you know?
Pearl, Pearl.
Carl?
Yeah, and it's about a character in X, when she was young, and it's Pearl is actually better than X, and yeah, Pearl. It's all about the performance of Mia Goth, who play Pearl in the movie, and uh, she's amazing. I cannot believe she was nominated at the Golden Globe or of course the Oscars. They kind of shy on R, but it's awesome. And they're shooting right now a third one called Maxine with 3X in the 80s.
Oh, that's pretty cool. I like
Yeah.
that idea.
So yeah, those are probably the greatest, the best movies I watched in a while. But of course, I'm a big David Cronenberg fan. So Crimes of the Future, his latest one, I was so excited to see that, and
Yeah.
it's pretty cool. I don't know if you're a fan of Cronenberg's.
I haven't really, I can't say.
No, The Fly, of
Oh,
course.
well, yeah, of course. Yeah, the fly is great.
It's kind of a classic. James Bousema, who did
Yeah.
your cover. I added on the show. It's gonna be on the same episode as you. And yesterday we were talking about his favorite films, and The Fly came out, and I was so happy because
Yeah, that's a
it's,
great movie.
it's one of my fave. But David Cronenberg, he's one of the weirdest filmmaker ever because he's all about uneasiness, and he started with body horror, a lot of sex and a lot of flesh, and it was so different from everybody, what everybody was doing at the time, early 80s, end of the 70s, the
Right.
brood scanners, man, and the
Oh,
the head,
Scanner's great.
the
Yeah,
head exploding scene
that's
start.
amazing.
It's
Yeah,
crazy.
that was
And
incredible.
yeah, it was shot in Montreal mostly, and a little bit in Toronto as well. Used to live in Montreal. He did the Shivers as well. It's kind of a bunch of people that get sex crazy. This kind of a rabbit thing in the apartment building. It's
Right.
really weird with Lynn Lowry. Um, but what else? Dead Ringers with Jeremy Irons. It's not really a horror movie, but it's pretty weird. But his latest film is straight up horror. Crimes of the
And
Future
that's
with
the Crimes of the Future. I wrote it down.
you should seek that.
I'm always
Uh,
looking for new stuff, and also a lot of stuff I missed.
yeah, of
I missed
course.
a lot. I missed so much stuff.
It's
It's hard
hard
to
to
keep up.
we cannot see everything, but it's so cool to do these things, podcasts and chatting about horror, and they always get suggestion from my interviewees because as you said, we miss we pass on things. We heard bad things about movies, but actually they're great.
Yeah, what was that? Barbarian was really good.
Oh yeah, I was surprised by that.
Yeah, I like that one. And
Yeah.
there's another one on Netflix that I really liked called Hellhole,
Mm,
Polish horror movie.
I haven't seen it.
Subtitles. That's kind of story like elements of the film you've seen already, but I think it was a really tasteful way of doing it, and it was kind of old school and a little bit more on the serious side.
Cool, cool.
Not really too many jokes and not really like a current rap metal soundtrack or anything like that. You
Because
know,
sometimes I want a no-brainer horror film, like really stupid with boobs and gore, and I'm too tired to read subtitles, so just a dumb film would do. But sometimes I wanna get something else. I wanna get what's the latest from Brendan Cronenberg? I forgot the name of the movie. Possessor.
I heard that was great. I haven't seen it.
It's mind blowing. That's from Brendan Cronenberg, the son of David,
Yeah,
and his first film was called Antiviral, and I thought it was a little bit too much like his dad's work. So, but it was kind of interesting. I know he had potential because,
right.
of course, his genes.
Yeah.
But the second film, it's Possessor. It's so weird and so creepy, and wow, that's the kind of movie you watch, and you kind of you're like you don't feel dirty afterwards, but it's like really unnerving. You don't know how to feel really.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and I heard he's got a third one out called Infinity Pool. I haven't seen it, but I heard great things about it. Um, yeah.
So lots of movies like that. Because I'll confess to you, I have a problem. This thing,
Yeah, your phone.
it's in my hand and I'm on it way too much.
Oh
So
man.
I want a story that makes me not care about my phone completely at all, so I can just be enveloped in the story and transported to wherever if it's CGI or a good story. I want a film that I really want to enjoy without distraction, and that's my favorite reason to go to the actual theater because
Yeah,
I shut it off and I'm just entertained and transported someone else for 2 hours or hour and a half or what have you.
I feel you, man, because it's so addictive, those little things, because if we get bored for a second, there's so many more
Oh,
things
it's
interesting.
scrolling. Yeah,
Yeah, but it's a pain in the ass because there's something on the screen. Give it a chance, or
yeah,
turn it off, or change the movie.
yeah. I want more of that in my life and
Yeah,
less of the phone.
yeah, man. Yeah, it's not good for anybody. Those little Black Mirrors. Black Mirrors. That's an
I didn't see
amazing
that either.
series. Oh man. Oh,
Yeah,
so that's um
I'm taking notes over here. You see that?
yeah, but Black Mirror, it's kind of two headed blade. Is that the expression? There's two sides of that blade because it's great, but it's also really depressing
Yeah,
because it's all about
that story.
technology. It's all about technology, but the technology we know, but what can it become, and what can it do to you? And it's all about AI, and there's so many different things connected to technology, and it's really really dark and depressing. It's a small word because it's really intense, and
Yeah,
it's short, like 75 minutes, an hour, but those are actual movies. The production is great, the acting is great. It's not about gore. Sometimes there is, but
Yeah.
it's pretty intense, and I cannot say there's a bad episode.
Okay.
And I was pretty impressed by that series, and they just announced it's short seasons as well. It's like 5 episode, 8 episode. So
Okay. So like Chernobyl.
uh, I heard good things about Chernobyl, but I haven't seen it yet. I,
Same people, I guess the same people that did the special effects for The Last of Us.
the same ringleader for the show as well.
Yeah, yeah. Which
So,
I enjoyed that. I didn't even know it was a video game, to be honest.
and we chat
Watch-
we chat a little bit last time about
All right, yeah, yeah.
video games, but you need to play those games. The Last of Us 1 and 2. That's the
Yeah,
two.
after watching that, it crossed my mind that I might want to buy a system again, but I don't know if I really have the time for that.
But
Because
you know,
I feel like I would sit there all day long and just do that instead of everything else.
but
But I would want to see what the new Dead Space is like because I really loved that. That game actually scared me more than most movies, horror movies.
totally, man.
I wish they'd make a movie from that. That'd be great.
Yeah, and Carpenter, David, John Carpenter, he said publicly on the media that I'm there if you want to do a movie.
Oh, for
He's a
Dead Space?
Yeah, he's a
Wow.
gamer. Actually, he's still playing video games all day. That's what he do. He plays music with his son and godson, and he plays video games.
Yeah.
It's it's amazing. Guys, is in his 70s. It's, it
Get
blows
your
my
brain
mind.
sharp, I guess. My my two wishes for video to become films. One's a video game and one's a song.
Oh yeah, what
Yeah,
was the song?
Dead Space, and the song is a Dark Avenger by Manowar.
Manowar.
I wish someone would make a movie of that. Like uh what's I'm slipping right now. Peter
What?
Jackson
Oh,
or
because
or someone like that. It's a total like almost like Conan like revenge style movie.
okay.
It would be amazing. I love that song. And then
I,
the narration in the middle, oh, it's so sick.
I need to listen to that song because Manowar, I'm familiar with the band, but I never really listened to them.
Yeah, I love him.
It's kind of a like power metal band, or
Yeah, yeah. The first two records are more rock and rolly, but you could see how it shifted, went to more towards that. It was more raw and then became more metal and then more power metal.
and as you
I
said,
always loved him. I always loved him.
it's really epic with like people shirtless like Conan.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. They love all that. It's funny too, you know. Don't get me wrong,
Of
but
course,
I love it.
but are they great live as well?
I saw them years ago and they were excellent. And
Oh
then
yeah.
we wanted to play them in Sweden a while ago, and we didn't really get to see much because we had to split, but they were still great.
Hmm. And now you're going away on tour in Europe in a few days, right?
Hmm.
Pretty cool. With
Yeah, I'm excited. We're play all the big festivals. It'll be a lot of fun. It's a really short run. We just did like 11 and a half, 12 weeks
yeah.
beginning of the year. So we really, had the candle burning at both ends for a minute. And we just did Dark Lord Day last weekend, which is always amazing. I was really happy it returned.
And what's that festival about?
Dark Lord Day is a beer festival by the brewery in Munster, Indiana called Three Floyds. They
Hmm.
release,
Oh yeah.
yeah, they release a Russian Imperial Stout once a year on that day, and that's the only place you can get it.
Wow. And
And
I
the
get
beer's massive. It's huge. It's usually I prefer it really fresh on draft, or the bottle sit for at least a year
oh yeah.
to develop a little bit more.
It's like
Yeah,
10% or something like that.
15 and a half. It's a big guy.
15. Whoa.
Yeah, talk about muscles.
Wow. It's pretty
Good,
intense.
yeah, and they love metal, so they always have great bands, but it's mainly about the beer. The bands are secondary, but
Yeah.
they're all metalheads, so they want to see bands that they like there. So we're happy to be invited again.
And those guys, I've been hearing about them forever because they were one of the first that did the collaboration with bands,
Hmm.
and
Yeah,
I never
Barnaby.
and I
R.I.P.
and I never had a chance to taste one of their beers. So next time you
Oh,
come to
really?
Montreal, bring me one.
Oh, I will. I would love to. Now they have distribution on the whole East Coast.
Oh yeah, but
Yeah, so you actually go to New York, you'll be able to find it.
that's right. Because actually, this summer I'm going to the New York State for a few days to see a few concerts with a couple of friends and my wife. So I need to bring some Three Floyds
Yeah, yeah,
back
yeah.
home.
You'll be able to find it.
Yeah.
I'll
Um,
help.
Great, awesome. So since we don't have much time left, we I asked you to think about your favorites and what would be your top five of your favorite horror movie of all times, and
The
so
Howling's definitely in there.
which one?
The Howling's definitely in there.
Oh yeah, oh yeah,
And the thing it's incredible.
it's a classic.
Yeah.
I watched it again. I think early this year during a big snowstorm.
Oh, perfect. Yeah. And Army of Darkness, definitely. Like I love the first two Evil Deads, especially the first one.
Oh
But
yeah.
yeah, Army of Darkness. I went to the movie theater to see it with Scott Ruth and Brandon Thomas of Ripping Corpse.
Oh
Like
yeah.
the movie theater in my part of town had it, so that
Uh,
was really good.
But what were you surprised about the
I
film?
was.
Because after
It was
Evil
more
Dead 1 and
funny.
2, yeah.
Like I remember sitting there, and it's when we all smoked a lot of weed too. I smoked a lot of weed back then. Sitting there, and like when they throw the first guy into the pit, and then all this blood comes roaring out, all of us were like, "Oh my god!" It was
And
pretty
Bruce
awesome.
Campbell, it was his I think his best performance ever in that
Yeah.
film. You got have you seen the director's cut afterwards?
You know what? I don't think I have.
Because this came out I think in the end of the 90s, early 2000s, and it got like 15 minutes additional, 15
Oh,
minutes
I
more.
need I need to go check that out for sure.
And that love story, it's much more fleshed out in that, and
Yeah.
it's so funny. And there's
Okay.
a bit more action scenes as well, and you
Yeah.
got to see more Ash. So of course you need to
Right.
seek that out. It's probably available streaming somewhere. But the cover, they did the cover art for that, it's amazing. It's like
Yeah.
Conan.
Looks like Conan. Yeah. Like I don't know, to move along real quick because I don't know how much time we got.
Like 5 minutes.
Okay, I really love Jason and the Argonauts and Mysterious Island. And I don't think they're actually horror movies, but goddamn, they're amazing. They're so good. And
Jason and the Argonauts, it's a horror movie. An adventure movie, but those skeletons and Medusa, and Medusa is in the Clash of the Titans. But that big universe that Ray Harryhausen helped created, it's
incredible.
that was mind blowing.
Yeah,
They used to take so much time crafting those little effects, and I was lucky enough to see a screening of Jason and the Argonauts in Montreal with Ray Harryhausen
oh
in the
wow,
audience.
that's super cool.
Wow.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
So maybe Predator too.
Oh man,
'Cause
that's
I mean, that's another dream of mine. Someone to make a Schwarzenegger box set. I would buy that in a heartbeat. There's so many great movies he made,
yeah, in
but
the 80s.
yeah, everything. Those movies are awesome, all of them. I
Yeah.
wish that would happen, but you know what? People probably think I'm crazy, and I know a lot of my friends did too. But one of the more modern ones is, man, I loved Prometheus.
Actually, man, because I'm a big Alien freak, that's my favorite
And
franchise ever.
yeah, and Alien scared the crap out of me. Original Nightmare on Elm Street scared the crap out of me. If you
Hmm.
want to go backwards and talk about that stuff,
Yeah.
yeah, those are
But
classic. Those are great.
of course, but Alien, and you mentioned Prometheus. It's so beautiful. I love the way that he
It's
tried to
awesome.
explain a lot of things that were just there. That big space jockey in the first one,
Yeah,
and he tried to explain that whole thing. It was a big a big pompous, a little bit too much, that those engineers created the human race. But I bought it. I
Yeah,
went along.
I was in.
Yeah,
See, it's fantasy. You can enjoy it. You can go, all right, I'm into it.
it's
And,
sci-fi. I want to be transported
yeah,
somewhere
exactly.
else.
Same here. It doesn't have to be believable. You know what I mean? Oh,
No,
yeah. I
I don't-
I don't care if I have to prove it has to prove itself. I liked it.
and the performances were great. Michael Fassbender as an android, he's great.
Oh, he's amazing. Yeah.
But the second one, Covenant, I thought it was really bad.
Yeah,
Really.
it was really bad, and then I knew it was really bad when he was teaching him how to play the flute. I was like, all right, man, come on. But I will say though, I got pissed when they dropped everything on the civilization and killed all the engineers. I was like, man, what are you doing? It really got me worked up.
Yeah,
And it should have been
it's
called Paradise. I'm nerd now, right now. Like, going in for the win at the end. And while we're at it, going backwards, still there was an old black and white horror movie called Gargoyles that I really loved. It was like I saw that around the same time as them, the giant ant movies, the black and white films.
Mhm.
Gargoyles, I haven't really been able to track it down.
Okay.
I need to
I
do
need,
some looking for that.
yeah, me too. But man, those Zoom calls are limited to like 40 minutes, and it's the last minute of our call. I could have chatted a few hours with you.
Yeah, no doubt.
If,
You got to come down.
yeah, definitely. But thanks, man. Thanks for
Thank you.
doing
I had a
that.
blast.
It was a lot of fun, so we will keep in touch as
Okay.
always. And take care, man.
See ya. Thanks.
Cheers.
Good night.